Self-love isn't always this fluffy, soft, flowy way of living. Sometimes self-love shows up as the voice in your head that says, now you know goddamn well. Mitchell C. Clark.
I love it. Thank you guys for joining us for part 2 of Black People in Mental Health. I'm your co-host Kecia, and this is
Karen.
Yeah, and we are still eating the same rice
in my face.
from I guess last week or the episode ago. You know what it is.
Look,
Y'all
it is
know
what it is. We
got the
this
same
in
outfit
one
on,
setting,
right?
We just breaking it up for y'all.
All right. So in the previous episode, we talked about Black people and mental illness or mental health. We talked about mental health. We talked about Black people in therapy. We talked about how we have a mistrust for doctors because it comes back from slavery and experiments on slaves, with the John Sims experiments and the Tuskegee experiment. We also talked about how Black people have this thought that whatever happens in the house stays in the house. We touched on childhood trauma, and how that could impact the way of thinking when it comes down to therapy and why you may not want to go. And we also talked, what else did we talk about? We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about acknowledging when you need to go to therapy. I may need to go to therapy, so better help. I ain't doing no sponsorship, but it's I mean, right now I'm not.
The bag might be there.
Give me the bag.
You gonna pop up on my time?
Bloop, bloop.
I looked for a therapist through BetterHelp.
Look! Don't be putting our stuff out there yet.
Listen.
Anyways, all right. So we're gonna finish that conversation. So, one thing that I do know that why therapy or mental health is something that Black people probably don't engage in as much is because us as Black people, we are very dismissive of other people's mental health issues. So I know a couple of times where
she just throwed off.
Yeah, she's just a little throw. She a little touched.
Touched is the one.
Yeah, she's a little touched. Or we feel like, girl, ain't nothing wrong with you. Just go lay down. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we do that. Why do we do that?
I think it's like, again, hippie me. I'm an energy person. Like, I literally feel like we pass this energy down like generation from generation to generation, and like these habits. Like, I don't know why we do it, right? But it's just like somebody passed it on to you who, people pass that shit on.
I just feel like that goes back into what's going on in our house is going to stay in our house, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to bring that out to an outside source because you ain't nothing wrong with you, girl. You fine. You crazy. Right. You be all right. And that's really not okay, because sometimes...
Oh, I have a story.
Well, sometimes it's like if you would have caught this at a younger age, that person would have been so much better as an adult, right? Or they would have learned how to cope better as an adult. And I think that they may feel like it's a sign of weakness. Like, I don't want to go there because that may seem like I'm weak. And I know for Black men, and especially, like, you're supposed to be a protector, a provider, this strong figure in the head of a household. And if you go to therapy, but you ain't got it all together. And another thing is, some people are so judgmental, like, and I won't say Black women, but any, people in general. If they find out, like, you're supposed to be the strong man, but you're going to therapy, how can you tell me what to do if you ain't right? And that's a terrible way to look at something.
Terrible.
It should be like, this person is working on themselves and they are aware enough to know what's wrong, so they're looking for help versus you using it as ammo.
Right. Because honestly, I would rather you figure out what's wrong and get help to fix it than just sit there and act like everything's fine.
Right.
Like, what's that little
Oh, that burning emoji.
yeah.
The house is on fire. Everything's
Right,
fine.
everything's fine.
No, brother. The house is burning around
Right.
you.
Wake
Like,
up. I have two, I guess, stories related to what you just said. So one is around dating. There was this guy, really nice guy. And when I was dating him, it was very apparent to me that he needed therapy. Like the thing, like ego.
is that a red flag?
That he needed therapy?
Well, it's one thing to like know that he needs therapy. Like, well, maybe you need to go to therapy. But it's another thing to be like, something ain't all the way right, and I can't help you. You need to go to therapy.
And like I said, he was a nice guy,
Okay.
so it wasn't like a he threw it off like something wrong with
he
him. But it was
touched-
just like I could see him benefiting from therapy. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
hearing about some of his childhood, just seeing how he like responded to things and reacted to things like in his environment or like things that would happen in his life. And he was so close-minded to therapy. Like he was like that, like the typical stereotypical black person we are talking about right now. Like, I'm not going to therapy. I don't need that. Why I need to sit down and talk to somebody about my issues. Like, I know how I feel. Like, that was when I was a child and blah, 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 blah. And just ego like crazy, right? Crazy part is, fast forward to like 3 years down the line, he started to go to therapy.
Good.
And he's actually like an advocate for therapy
Good.
now. Like complete 360. And I'm like, damn, when we were dating, like you were not even open to the concept. And like seeing him now, like waiting on his therapy appointments. Like, you know, now he'd be like, man, I got therapy Thursday. I can't wait. I'm like, yes, you need it.
And it's a maturity level. Like he had to get to that level. Like I need to go here. Or even if I hate people feel like, you know, you are raising your boyfriend to be the husband for somebody else. So maybe you telling him that maybe you weren't the right person. Then when somebody else that was closer was like, hey, you need to go to therapy, he took it better.
Maybe.
And I mean, kudos to him.
I'll be honest, I ain't really talked to him about it that much. I was just kind of like, he need therapy.
It was a mental note.
It was a mental note. Because like I said, he was a good person. Okay. So like, but I could tell he needed therapy.
Yeah.
And like when you talked about finding things out like sooner that could help. So I had a childhood friend. This is like recently discovered this. But like, how do I make this? So anyway, fast forward to today. This person I knew from my childhood recently was diagnosed with autism. And I know we've talked a lot about like childhood trauma and like abandonment issues and things like that. But like then you also have things like, you know, autism, schizophrenia, like more serious conditions. And even her sister was just like, now that we know this, like they didn't find out until after she was after 30.
Yeah.
Now that we're just finding this out, her sister's like, one, it makes way more sense.
Yeah.
She's like, all these like little things that were off or didn't make sense. She's like, like the puzzle pieces are starting to come together. But like now she can get the support that she needs. And then I'm even thinking back to certain things and I'm like, damn, if I would have known that like she was on the spectrum, like how would that have changed the dynamic of like our relationship or like me being able to show up for that person. Right. So like when we talk about like therapy, like I just want people to understand like it's not just processing like simple issues. Like it can be processing some really hard life-changing stuff. And it's like if you would have had this information when you were 10 versus 32, 33, 35, how different could your life have been?
And you know what? And I don't want to put it on all the parents because I'm a parent too. And sometimes I see myself kind of doing that. So it's not necessarily mental health, but I have a speech impediment, and my mom kind of has like a speech thing going on, and my daughter, she kind of has like a little baby list going on, but she has a gap too. So Brian was like, well, we should probably think about putting her in speech language pathology. I'm like, ain't nothing wrong with that girl. She'll be fine. And I shouldn't think like that, right?
Yeah.
It should just be like, okay, well, if it could benefit her, because I know sometimes I have trouble saying words, or I speak really fast when I'm excited. So I have to like slow it down and think about it. So that's something that falls into, that kind of category. It's not as serious, but it can definitely help her in the long. And it happens so like immediate response. Ain't nothing wrong with that girl. She'll be fine. And I've heard that my entire life.
It was
like,
passed down to you.
You
don't even know why you're doing
right.
it.
Yeah,
like you don't think about
ain't
it.
nothing wrong with that person. They're all right. They just a little. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, another thing that we're going to touch on. Go ahead.
Would you put your child in therapy, like as a child?
Yeah, I would. If I saw that she needed it, yeah, I would. But she's a happy baby. She just be talking in her own little baby language sometimes. Like, girl, what are you saying? But I don't think that nothing traumatic has happened to her, or for her to be in a situation where she needs it. Yeah,
I think I would when I have a kid, I think that after a certain age, like, and this is me not having a kid, right? So like I don't know how it's really gonna be when I have a kid, or if I have a kid. I think I would want to put them in therapy. Like, even if I didn't think anything was wrong with them, like maybe say if they were in like those high school years, like, when stuff or middle school,
stuff is getting rough.
Right? Stuff get a little rough. Like, even if it's just like a couple sessions just for them to try it out, I think I would want to do that, because I know me looking back at my childhood, because I would fade to the background and not really talk about my feelings or what was important to me. Like, I wonder sometimes for myself, like, would that have made a difference if I felt like I had this like unbiased, non-judgmental space to go to express myself?
Yeah. So just from the stuff that you've unpacked as far as like the whole caretaker situation, yeah. But like if something was to happen and I was feeling like she was beginning to close down, I do want to, build that relationship where I feel like she can talk to me. But if I feel like you not really talking, or maybe I stumbled across your diary, and there's
open it up.
and there are some things in there that concern me, or if you're just if everybody knows their child. I know my child. If you're acting a different way, I'm gonna say, well, I can't reach you. Let me see if somebody else can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely put her in therapy if it ever got to those situations, or if she just asks for it. She's like, I want to talk, but I don't necessarily want to talk to you or dad. And I want to hope that she would have a relationship where she can talk to me.
I was gonna say, I don't feel like I had that personally, and not anything, and I won't even put it on my parents. Like, it was a me thing, because I learned and adapted. I learned and adapted to fading into the background.
And you know why? As I got older, it was more of I don't say nonchalant, like, I don't ever want to feel judged.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I would bring things up to certain people, it was like an automatic judgment.
Yeah.
And then you made me feel shame.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'm never talking to you about that again.
Yeah.
Or you made me feel stupid.
Yeah.
So it's like those people that you think you're the closest to, and you share something with them and they give you their response, you're like, I'm just going to shut off. Yeah. Like, I know what to talk to you about and what not to talk to you about. And that's when you probably need that therapist to, I'm paying you, you can't say nothing.
You're going to accept me for who I am because I'm paying.
Because I'm paying you. Okay. So, yeah. So there's a lot of different reasons. And
I know you're into like murder mysteries and true
is.
crime and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which this is fictional, but it's a movie that had the guy from Monk in it. He was a therapist, and like one of his patients like kidnapped him. Like he was seeing this patient. I don't know if the patient was like schizophrenic or what, but like one of his patients like kidnapped him and like basically was like forcing him to just live in his basement and give him therapy.
I saw the preview for that. I never saw. I thought you were gonna say that movie with Jude Law and Catherine Zeta-Jones when they both were therapists and the girl like killed her husband. Channing Tatum was in it.
Huh.
Side Effects.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Yeah, like side note, Side Effects, she was dating this guy. She thought he was like a millionaire. He was like doing like fraud, white collar crime, went to jail. She came out. They were like living in an apartment. She couldn't take it. She went to see a therapist. She fell in love with like her therapist. It was Catherine Zeta-Jones. They came up with this scheme to kill the husband. And I'm sorry I'm giving y'all the spoiler alerts, but if you ain't watching it, too bad. She came up with this, this scheme to like kill her husband, blaming on the side effects of the medicine that the doctor gave her, and then it like all came out in the end. That was lying.
Oh my God. Did you see that movie with Halle Berry?
What movie?
When she was like, she had like multiple personality disorder and she would literally like become different people like in her mind, but like one of her personalities was like a child who was like abnormally smart. Another personality was like herself, like who she really is. And then she had another personality that she was like this white woman. and, and I just remember in the movie, it was so funny because she's this black lady, but like she'd be like, "Get your filthy hands off me."
I have not.
Oh my God.
But you know what? Movies like that, I mean, for the entertainment purpose, it's probably hilarious, right? And Split was a really good movie, but they actually do harm to the mental health world, or like people dealing with that, because you see them, and then a lot of people who don't know information on them, they like categorize it. Oh, well, you have split personalities, so blase, blase, blase. But entertainment wise, sounds like a good movie.
No, it was a great movie because then you figure out, I don't remember the name of it. Yeah, then you figure out, like, spoiler alert, like in the movie you figure out why she created that white woman personality.
I'm sure it was to deal with some type of traumatic event that happened in her life.
Yeah, it was, she fell in love with a white guy as a black woman, and like the things that happened after that were traumatic to her. So she came up with this other personality. I think it was called something in Alice, Frankie and Alice, maybe.
I've heard of Frankie and Alice.
It was really good. Like I feel like that was
Johnny.
I feel like that was a slept on movie. And then I wonder, what are the therapists of people are like? Obviously at that level she was probably seeing like a psychiatrist.
Yeah,
like
that one therapy.
Somebody prescribing like
heavy medications.
Yeah.
But
I wonder how like they feel when they get these complex patients.
I'm sure it's a challenge for them, like,
or even just uncover some like crazy link to like who you are for you.
I'm sure it's like a thrill for them, because if I'm going to do this type of work and it's a challenge for me, I'm going to love every moment of it. Like, so tell me more.
You little Timmy today, like
not little Timmy. Oh, see, you cannot be a psychiatrist, a psychologist. You cannot. You in the right field, baby, and that ain't it.
Listen, I've always been intrigued with that stuff. I feel like I would be a good therapist.
You can't be calling people little Timmy, though.
I wouldn't do that in real life, Kecia. But I've always been intrigued about behaviors and patterns with people and stuff like that. I've always like loved that kind of stuff.
You ever notice this? We're getting way off.
We are.
The people that you feel like are the most jacked up won't be like psychiatrists. Not
what
you.
You trying to
not
say?
You.
What
not
are you trying to
not
say?
You. But I've known a couple of people in my life that's like mean or just like
How you a
weird.
therapist?
And it's like, I want to be a therapist. What?
Who you gonna help?
Yeah, like you need to help yourself first. Anyway,
Maybe that's their projection. Maybe they
ooh,
need to go to therapy to
child.
unpack why they want to be a therapist.
Maybe they need to unpack that because it's like, how, wait, where?
Might be
Anyway,
deflecting because some people. That's another thing we could talk about, especially with black people. They deflect.
well, yeah.
And like they put that, like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with me, but oh, your cousin over there.
Yeah, they felt like, or maybe they felt like nobody was there for me, so I'm gonna be there for somebody else. So I get that part of it. But that wasn't it for her. I don't know. But anyways,
I don't have any therapist friends.
She wasn't a therapist. She wanted to be a.
Oh,
She is. Moving on. So another thing is avocation.
I hope she watching.
No. Another thing why black people, I feel like, are not God damn it. Anyway, are not like into mental health or therapy is because one, we don't have enough representation in the field. Black doctors in general. Two, a sense of avocation. Like I feel like I have to advocate for myself. Like it goes back with the pain tolerance thing. Like they're very dismissive of symptoms of black people. The whole Serena Williams thing, when she had her baby and she was in the hospital, she would let them know that I have blood clots. And she told the doctor, they didn't listen. She felt like something was wrong. They still wasn't listening. And she literally had to advocate for herself. Like something is wrong. You need to check on A, B, and C. And until she got assertive with them, that's when they actually checked. So I feel like if she would have had a black doctor, they probably would have been like, oh, I guess that died. They'd be like, oh, well, let me check on it for you. And that's Serena Williams we're talking about. Like she is Serena Williams. Like everybody know who she is. Black, white, you don't have to be, you could live under a rock and know who Serena Williams was. And she had to physically advocate for herself on multiple levels for her to get any type of response. So what are the statistics for representation of black doctors or doctors in general?
so this is according to Zippia.com, but it says that the most common ethnicities of doctors are white at 62.2%.
More than half.
More than half. Followed by Asian at 18.6%, so almost 20%. Hispanic or Latino are 9.5%. And then Black or African American are only 5.1%.
5.1%.
And this is just doctors. So like then you narrow down to different disciplines.
Yes.
And think about how much lower it is there. Like how hard is it to find a Black OBGYN, a Black primary care physician, a Black neurosurgeon, a Black, like the percentages are even smaller.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, like if I have something, I'm going to try to get a black doctor. Yeah. Like I'm going to try my damnedest to get a black doctor. And I'm lucky enough to have a doctor sister that's like, hey, this ain't working. What's happening with this? And then, I'll still have my doctor down here because she's out of the state, but I'll be like, oh, well, this doctor said this. She's like, oh, no,
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate enough to have that knowledge, like in my back pocket. Like I know that she can do it. And when I had my child, I wanted her to deliver my baby because, you never know. And to say that technology and healthcare has advanced so much, the mortality rate for having a baby in Black women is still significantly high. Like what is happening? Like, you think that I'd have made it these 9 months, they always say you got 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot out the grave when you're having a baby or when you're pregnant. So, and I remember when I had my baby, my blood pressure dropped. Well, she had to get taken early because I didn't have any fluid and they were like, we need to take her now. And I remember passing out as they were like laying at it. I was like, no, we need to get this, blah, blah, blah. Like, and my OBGYN is not African American, but she's amazing. and I'm lucky enough to have found that. But if I would have found a black, OBGYN, and it's, I feel like we have a certain level of commonality, you know? So that's another thing. Like a lot, representation is a big thing, and 5% cannot cover everybody. It can't cover all of us. Like,
I just want to encourage people to go to therapy, like, and not just even just therapy, like putting your health at the forefront. Like, I know it's scary to trust doctors. I'm not saying blindly trust your therapist or trust your doctor, because that's why I said I also believe in shopping around and finding like a fit that's good for you. But don't be closed-minded to it either, right? Don't be like, oh, anti-therapy, or I'm not going because I don't need it, or like I'm not going to my checkup because like I feel fine. Like,
and that's another thing with like prostate cancer in men. Like, I know the sign says do not enter or whatever, but get a checkup. Like, don't wait until it's too late, because a lot of these things can be preventative maintenance. Just like you get your car checked, your oil change, go get your body checked. Like,
a friend of mine was just telling me an unfortunate story about her uncle who passed away, but she said he had cancer. Mm-hmm. He was healed from the cancer. He beat it. Like, didn't go back to the doctor pretty much after that. Like, just living his life. Like, oh, I feel fine. Had like a fall of some sort that brought him back to the doctor because he wasn't like healing properly. Right. Mm-hmm. So finally went back to the doctor just to find out that the cancer had returned at some point and was like in a really advanced stage, and a few weeks later passed away.
Yeah.
And she was like, if he would have just gone to his annual checkups, we might not be sitting here having this conversation.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of people are afraid of bad news. Mm-hmm. They would rather say, if I don't know, it's fine. And then a lot of people feel like once I go to the doctor, then shit start happening.
Right.
And it's like, no, you just know now. So you're paying attention to the stuff that's happening. So please, you guys, get your checkups, prostate exams. Women, please go to the OBGYN. I know a lot of people I know a lot of situations where people have died from cervical cancer because you don't get your pap smears, your checkups. And now it's like, every 3 to 5 years or something like that. I remember when I was 18, it was like every year. It can be scary, but it's a simple procedure, you guys. And it, certain STDs formulate into certain cancers, and then you could have it not know and pass it to other people. Yeah. Please get checked. Please be aware of your status.
You can have all, and like outside of just, to go back to mental health, like you can have things like it, and like you said, it may not be anything like as detrimental as like schizophrenia or something like that, but it could be like speech development, right, like, or a learning disability that you didn't know you had that could help things just click for you. So go see that lady.
Go see that lady. Go see that man. I don't even care if they're black. Go white.
Right.
Asian,
go to somebody.
Go to somebody. Figure it out. Work on yourself, because I always tell people you cannot be there for other people if you aren't there for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta be here to take care of you. Like they say on a plane, when the mask fall down, put it on yourself first, and then put it on the kids. Because if you pass out, mama, they can't help you. You can't help the kids. So, yeah. So, thank you guys for tuning in. This is a 2-parter. We will probably try our hardest not to have 2-parters, but this was a lot of information that we wanted to touch base on. I do want you guys to take care of yourself. Please go on our socials if you have any suggestions on what we can post to help people better themselves. If you have stories of how, therapy, mental health, physical health, whatever, if you have doctors you want to suggest, please let us know. Karen, do you have anything?
No, I mean, find somebody to talk to. Like, again, even if you don't think anything is quote unquote wrong. Yeah. Like, still go check it out, give it a chance, see what it can do for you in your life. And by chance, I don't mean like one session, one person. Like if you meet a therapist, you don't vibe with them,
Get a new one.
get a new one.
Get a new doctor.
Get somebody
Yeah.
you feel comfortable with and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All right, you guys. Until next time. Bye.
Toodaloo.